onto the recording, though.
Yep. There we go. The September 2023 President's Report has several items to report in on today. First is you will see sometime in the next couple of months that DASNY is administrating a new capital improvements grant program for not-for-profit organizations. The request for proposals will be out in September for the Not-for-Profit Infrastructure Capital Investment Program, which we call NICIP. It's a competitive grant program and supports institutions that provide critical services to New Yorkers. We'll make timely and targeted investments in capital projects to maintain the quality, efficiency, and accessibility of not-for-profit human services organizations. The first round of NICIP funding was in 2018. This round will be approximately $60 million for eligible entities. We do this at the request of the governor's office. It has been a good program. It will be on a first come, first served basis to those who qualify for the grants. Typically, these grants range from $50,000 to $500,000, and we expect to announce the grants winners on a rolling basis beginning in December of 2023. I want to acknowledge Karen Hunter and her group down in the grants unit. They do a wonderful job, and the better job they do, the more opportunities we get to administer grants. But again, I really appreciate the work that they do. They really have become a well-oiled machine and really help serve the citizens of New York. Secondly, Charlie Williams and Sarah Richards have begun leading what we'll call employee engagement at DASNY. Pre-pandemic, we used to do a lot of activities to engage our employees. As the pandemic went on, those activities we did as best we could virtually, but we're going to start doing more employee engagement activities over the coming months and years. They're organizing that for us. We will have a holiday party and some other things as well. And so, we're looking forward to that. Our first initiative was a big donation for back to school, and our employees did a significant amount of backpacks, pencils, pens, and other things for schools to get the school year kicked off. We'll have big holiday parties in New York and Albany. And then today in Albany, for those of you who want ice cream for lunch, there'll be an ice cream truck for our employees. And down in New York, we have some treats after the board meeting. I would encourage all of you to spend a little bit of time with staff and get to know them better.
Ruben, will the board members be invited to the holiday parties?
Yes, sir. So we'll make sure you get plenty of notice ahead of time so you can put it
Thank you. That was really where I was headed. I was just going to add, we need to know ahead of time.
Yep, absolutely. We had a successful internship program this summer. I want to thank all the DASNY employees who helped with the internship program. You may know that we have a lot of current employees. I think it's 30 to 40 that were former interns. This summer we had 12, and I'm pleased to announce that we extended offers to 3 of those. And so it's great to have the internship program begin to generate employees for DASNY. We've asked those interns to promote to their networks just how great DASNY is to a place to work and get your career started. And hopefully as part of what we're doing to the internship program, we'll continue to have more well-trained folks coming to DASNY. I can't say enough about the staff who helps with the interns. Of course, when you're trying to do your job during the day and have someone shadow you or to give assignments out, it is extra work. And our staff, stepped up as they always do. But great internship program this summer.
Ruben, it's Al again. How are we doing with placing interns in financial institutions as we have done in the past? Are we still doing that? And if so, how successful are we?
We have not had that program the past 2 years, Al. However, Portia and I have talked about starting that program up again with this session. And so Portia and Matt and their team are putting together a program. We do have two matched financial institutions that we're working with. We'll probably begin recruiting for that in December with the expectation they would start at the end of school in the spring.
That's fine. Thank you. I just didn't know. I didn't know that we had not done it for 2 years, and I wondered because you haven't talked about it. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, unfortunately, Al, it's one of those pandemic pauses. And so we're unpausing it now.
It'd be great it'll be terrific when we can stop blaming every issue we have on the pandemic. Thank you.
I know it'd be great, or we'll find another excuse. No, I'm just teasing. But in all seriousness, that is a great program, and we've placed some good folks. And obviously, Alex, who gave that great report earlier, is one of those former fellows. So it's been a great program.
We don't pay him enough money, Ruben.
He just got raised last time you said it, Al. Could you stop saying that in public?
Say it again now.
September 7th, we're going to close the first ever sustainability bonds on behalf of SUNY. We did a nice transaction for them a few weeks ago, and approximately $113 million of those bonds will have a sustainability designation supported by a second party opinion and verification. And they're really, sustainability bonds are really about issuing bonds that support green and social bond principles, and so some of the projects do have that moniker. So great to get that one on the books for SUNY. They were very pleased we were able to do that, and I think it's a trend that you'll see going forward in the state of New York, given our commitment to sustainability throughout the state.
So I saw that I think in today's clips is something, maybe not clips, but
Terry, would you speak up just a bit?
So, and I saw that today, I think the SUNY numbers are actually up over last year as far as registrations, and which is a good thing, obviously, for
That's terrific.
Well as for DASNY in the long
run.
SUNY
numbers. Does that mean that dormitory use is going up as well?
I didn't see that, Al, but I'm assuming that sort of goes hand in hand with the up.
So would I. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it feels like SUNY is turning the corner. Their new chancellor has hit the ground running, and as Steve will report in his program or his comments, we had a great SUNY summer program this year. So things are going well at SUNY, and all continue to be a great partner for us.
Terrific.
And then finally, for my report, several of our DASNY staff members attended the unveiling of the Judge Ruth Bader Ginsburg engraving on the Great Western Staircase in the state capitol. One of our employees, Molly Larkin, used to work at OSG, and while she was there, OGS, while she was there, and Molly heads up our upstate construction, but while she was there, she was a real leader in the idea for honoring Judge Ginsburg in this way, and we're really proud of the work that she did to get this up and running. She and Nadine and Sarah all went to the ceremony. It's the first new engravement since 1898. So proud of Molly and the work she's done. She's now with DASNY doing fantastic work for upstate construction. So just great to see our folks doing great work.
Let me say that I was very taken with this. The notion that there is an RBG engraving in the Capitol, one of 7 women ever recognized in such a fashion, and her prominence not just as a Supreme, but in New York State. Molly Larkin is somebody that I'd love to have join us at a board meeting, just to say thank you for what she did before she joined DASNY, and then she can, if you choose, Ruben, report on some facet of her work with Steve. But this was very significant for me. I'm a big RBG fan, but I'm also a fan of recognizing excellence. And I don't mean to talk too long on this, forgive me, but this was important. Thank you very much, Ruben, for pointing it out. Thank you very much, Steve Kuro, for helping to have staff attend that event. Are there pictures?
Yeah, I'm sure there are pictures. We'll send some around and certainly post those. And again, Molly took over from 2 very seasoned folks who are running our upstate construction,
Sure.
Who retired, and has done just a fabulous job. So a great member of the team.
Thank you.
With that, Sarah, we'll turn back to our regularly scheduled programming, and you can call the board meeting to order and move on from there.
Is the secretary present?
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
He has arrived. So,
Mr. Secretary, how are you? Good to have you.
Good to see you.
So at this point, we do have a quorum. So Madam Chair, if you would like to call the board to order, I will read the roll of the members who are present today, and we can proceed with the agenda as the members see before them in their board materials.
Okay, without further ado, Sarah, would you call the roll?
Sure. Welcome everyone to the September meeting of the DASNY board. With us for DASNY board members today in attendance, we have in the New York City office, our chair, Lisa Gomez, vice chair, Jerry Romsky, and Wellington Chen. In the Albany office, we have Joan Sullivan, Secretary of State Robert Rodriguez, and Christina Coughlin from SED. On the phone, we have Al Carney joining us, and absent are Adrian Swazerski, Ken Evans, Janice McKinney, and Beryl Snyder. For senior staff, we have with us President Ruben McDaniel. Vice President Charlie Williams is joining us by phone. Nadine Fontaine, Portia Lee, Kim Ellis, and Steve Curro. Also in the Albany office, we have Matt Moore, Matt Bergen, Alex Sardine, Dave Ostrander, and Amanda Nazario. And in the New York City office, Ricardo Salomon has joined. And I believe that is it. And I will turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you so much. First order of business is to approve the minutes. There was an amendment. I don't know that a small amendment by Al. I don't know if you want to mention anything, Al.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It had to do with the presentation of the construction division. It's a minor amendment, but I think a clarifying one. And I think that board secretary, I'm sorry, that Sarah did a fabulous job. So I'm happy with it.
Okay, great. So could we get a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Okay, all right, amended and seconded somehow. After you all decide. Okay, great. So we are a little bit out of order just while we get a quorum. So I think we'll get back on track with a report of the Finance Committee that immediately preceded the board meeting. So Jerry, would you like to take it away? It's tab 2 in your books.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met this morning. We adopted the meeting minutes from the July meeting of finance. They went in advance to discuss the AMDA offering. After some discussion and some confirmations, we recommend that be approved at today's full board meeting. And unless anyone has any questions or concerns, that concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
That's great. This is one that we've been talking about for the summer, so it's been fairly well vetted. Ruben, do you want to introduce the financing and have staff review it?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Behind tab 3 is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy transaction summary, and Alex Sardine of DASNY will briefly summarize the transaction. This, of course, is the first read. We'll have a motion to approve at our next board meeting. Alex?
Good morning, everyone. So the board is being asked to authorize the resolution to proceed with the financing of one or more series of tax-exempt and or taxable fixed and or variable rate bonds with a maturity not to exceed 30 years in an amount not to exceed 80 million on behalf of AMDA Inc. for its New York State operating entity, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. Again, the authorization being sought here is a resolution to proceed, and staff will come back to the board to adopt the financing documents. This transaction is expected to close at the end of October. The Academy plans to issue bonds concurrently to 2 separate state issuers, DASNY and the California Municipal Finance Authority, to refinance existing debt and to fund new money projects. Proceeds from the DASNY bonds are expected to be used to refinance AMDA's Series 2015 and Series 2018 bonds issued by Build NYC, as well as a taxable bank loan issued in 2015. In addition to the refinancing, bond proceeds are expected to be used to fund various renovation and deferred maintenance projects at the New York facilities. The full details of this transaction were provided to the members a few moments ago during the Finance Committee. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this? Anything to discuss? Okay, could I have a motion to approve? Wellington, thank you. A second?
Question.
Sorry.
The issues that came up in the report is the issues in the past regarding financial disclosure and reporting. Have those been addressed with them? Are they going to be able to provide financial statements
So
in a
this is,
regular manner?
this is going to be a private placement with a qualified institutional buyer, and that buyer is aware, and they are in talks with AMDA about this. And so, yeah, they are aware and they're willing to move forward with the financing.
So
Mr. Secretary, it's Al Carney. I raised the question during the Finance Committee meeting, and Alex responded similarly. If the QIB is comfortable with this, the private placement firm is comfortable with it. I think it's important that DASNY be comfortable with that. Are we?
We are, because Preston Alloway is comfortable and they're aware of this. So, there's full disclosure here.
Okay.
And they're a qualified institution buyer. And again, these bonds will be issued in the denominations of 100,000. So, they're big boys.
Not concerned about their, more about our.
Sally?
They can afford it. Alex, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think we had anybody have any other questions? Okay, we had a motion from Wellington. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Great, thanks. So we're getting a little bit back on track. We had the president's report while we're waiting for quorum. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I missed one thing. We have a resolution of official intent for mental health voluntary residential rental programs. Ruben, do you want to take us through tab 4?
Yes, behind tab 4 is a resolution of official intent. We have Jeff Poole of Nixon Peabody to describe that resolution. Jeff?
Sure, thank
And
you.
for those of you who are new board members, Jeff was the former general counsel of DASNY so many years ago.
Oh, so many years ago, correct.
Good to see
Jeff,
you,
it's
Jeff.
Al. Good to see you.
Today before you is you're being asked to adopt a declaration of official intent. This declaration relates to a loan of approximately $4 million that will be made to Odyssey House under DASNY's Mental Health Voluntary Agency Program. The loan will enable Odyssey House to complete a housing project and also to avail itself of private funds derived from the sale of federal tax credits. Because the project involves federal tax credits, the bonds must qualify as tax-exempt housing bonds. And for whatever reason, the Internal Revenue Code requires that the declaration of official intent relating to housing bonds be adopted by you, the issuer of the bonds. More typically, borrowers adopt their own declaration of the 501c3 program because it is permitted for those types of tax-exempt bonds. The adoption of this declaration will allow Odyssey House to reimburse itself from the proceeds of bonds for expenses incurred no earlier than 60 days before the adoption of the declaration of official intent. This declaration does not obligate DASNY to issue any bonds. At this time, I believe it's expected that the loan will be funded with the proceeds of DASNY's 2023 upcoming ABC PIT deal. But again, you will go through the ordinary process in approving that deal. That's really all I have. If there's questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Jeff, it's Al. We're not then required to issue anything. This
Right.
We're declaring, because the IRS requires that we declare that at this moment in time, we intend to issue.
It just makes their
intend to
costs
issue-
eligible.
Right, to make the cost that they spend, before the bonds get issued, eligible for reimbursement from the bond proceeds. We need to identify bonds that they intend to use to fund those expenditures.
And these were for overages from the original project, right?
Right, there was a project, I can't speak to when,
Percentage-wise, was it, do we have a clue?
excuse me, what was the question, Jerry? I'm sorry.
Percentage-wise, over the existing construction cost that results in this need, how much was the project over budget?
You know, I may have to get back to you on that, on that, because I don't know that I know how much we lent them the first time, but this is a follow-on to a prior loan, and the Internal Revenue Code has certain requirements. So we are lending them this additional money to make sure they qualify for the tax credit. I really can't answer your question off the top, Jerry, but I can get back to you.
It's all right, whenever you
Oh.
can.
This is pretty
Okay.
standard operating procedure in
That's right.
housing
Yes.
world.
Right, correct.
Usually where I'm living, so this is sort of standard behavior, just makes their costs eligible.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Do we need to do a vote or anything? Yes.
Albany, any other questions? Okay, so we need a motion to adopt the declaration of intent, please. Wellington, Jerry, oh, okay, we'll give Robert a chance to
Okay, good.
second something or,
Yeah.
great, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Declaration carries. We should pass that. Okay, getting back to the staff reports, while we were waiting for quorum, we had the president's report. So I believe next up is Portia behind tab 6.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Behind tab 6 are the standard finance reports. Since the last board meeting at the end of July, we priced and closed 4 transactions. The Greater Southern Tier BOCES transaction, the big sales tax deal, New York Presbyterian, and SUNY Dorm. SUNY Dorms actually is closing tomorrow. But so it's been a busy summer, and we expect it to be a busy fall. Brief market update. Total year-to-date long-term new issue supply for 2023 is approximately 245.7 billion. That's down about 15% from the same time last year. This week's supply is expected to be in line with recent averages at about 7 billion. Taxes and bond yields were unchanged on Tuesday, with both the 10-year and 30-year AAA MMD holding steady at 2.94% and 3.88% respectively. U.S. government bond yields were higher, with the 10-year Treasury increasing 9 basis points to 4.27% and the 30-year increasing by 9 basis points to 4.8%. Municipal bond funds reported inflows for the week ending August 30th. Since the last board meeting on July 26th, the 1-year MMD has increased by 23 basis points. Rates are rising. 10-year has increased by 44 basis points, and the 30-year has increased by 42 basis points. On the Treasury side, the 10-year Treasury yield has increased by 36 basis points, and the 30-year Treasury yield increased by 43 basis points. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Hey, Portia, before you conclude, I just want to say, we did have 4 transactions this summer since we met last. It has been a difficult market, and I just want to highlight that Matt Bergen, who has a lot of responsibilities with the public finance group, is the person who really leads our pricing efforts. And with the inverted yield curve and just, kind of spotty volatility and demand, Matt, you did a great job. I just want to point out to the board that, we're in great hands with the work he's done on pricing bonds on behalf of our clients. And I truly appreciate the work you've done, Matt. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, any questions for Portia or Ruben on the finance report?
None here, Madam Chair.
Thanks. I think next we have Kim with the finance report on tab 7. I know Kim's been busy with her financial reporting system, so hopefully she has some good updates for us there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start off with the standing financial report. It's included in your report. Personnel expenses are still trending slightly under projection. Our non-personnel expenses are also under projection due to timing of certain expenses. We closed on 1 private debt issuance in July, and we received $600,000 in financing fees through July. Percentage of direct hours charged to public client programs is slightly up at 95.8% against a budget amount of 94.6%. Moving on to our quarterly investment report, including your materials, is a report for the period ending June 30th, 2023. The overall portfolio decreased by approximately 400 million, primarily due to construction expenditures offset by new bond issuances and receipts for debt services. Due to improvements in short-term treasury rates, the portfolio saw a shift of 3 billion from agency securities into treasury obligations. Follow up on our year-end financial statement audit, KPMG completed its audit of the 12 individual financial statements, and as expected, they issued a clean opinion on August 31st.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Lastly, in your materials is for your consideration, a resolution to allow DASNY into a contract with HSO Enterprise Solutions LLC as our implementation partner to plan, design, build, train, and deploy Microsoft Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, which is a cloud-based resource planning system that will replace our current JD Edwards financial management system. As outlined in my memo, JB Edwards is reaching the end of its practical useful life, and with the advances in technology over the past 20+ years, we're looking to streamline our current financial process. Dynamics 365 and HSO were selected after undergoing a comprehensive selection process, which included issuance of an RFI to solicit information about potential software solutions. And once Dynamics 365 was the selected software, we underwent a two-step cost-based bid process to solicit responses from prospective implementation partners. Through this process, 3 firms were pre-qualified to submit a bid based on meeting, among other things, the requirements of being a Microsoft Gold certified Dynamics 365 partner and had experience with public sector implementations and data migration expertise. HSO was the apparent low bidder and has satisfied all requirements under the bid. All terms have been negotiated and the underlying contract is included within the confidential tab of your materials. Any questions?
I'm good with it, but I have one quick question, Madam Chair. Please. The third bidder was like 500% more than like the second bidder. Did they explain why they were like so like out of whack?
Under the bid process, because we did a bid, when we open the bids, we just see what the costs are and we're only allowed to advance with the lowest responsible bidder.
Oh, I get that. I get it. It just seemed the bid was just so
whack.
That was the first one open, so we were concerned initially.
I'm glad you got the first bid. Believe me, I get it.
Have we ever worked with HSO before, or are they new to us?
No, they're new to DASNY, to my knowledge.
So do you do a separate technical and cost? You do technical evaluation of all 3 before you open the cost?
No, we pre-qualified them. So we went through a pre-qualification process where we actually identified what criteria we were looking for.
Okay.
And we were able to look at all of those and we pre-qualified out of, I think we had 7 or 8 submissions. We only pre-qualified 3.
And member Sullivan, just I think it's a good point. Chad Pirro, who helped us with our grant administration program, is going to be leading the effort for this transition. He's got a great balance of technical expertise and business expertise at DASNY. So he'll be working with Kim's group and IS and others. And so I think with this implementation partner and Chad doing this on a full-time basis will give us the best combination of implementation in a pretty complex 2-year process.
This is always a heavy lift and it always touches more people than you think it will. So
yes,
buckle up.
Thank you.
Good luck, Chad. Good luck.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, one comment, just with the record ought to reflect that the legal staff has obviously approved this contract for the board's consideration. I mean, it's clear that that's the case. It's always the case, but maybe the record should have that.
Yes. And I will second that.
And
Thank you.
the little bit of they've been like done other work for other governmental agencies. That was part of the. I mean,
That must have been part of the
when I've gone through the
RFI,
whole,
right?
I'm assuming. But
They have, and Chad, I don't know if
Very
it's time, and I think they were recently awarded the top implementation partner for Microsoft. Is that correct?
Correct. For Dynamics Finance applications, correct.
Okay. Well, I think we're in good hands, Alex and them. Could we have a motion to to authorize the execution of a contract with HFO Solutions LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Joan. Thanks. Third. Very
Anybody want a third or fourth it? It's okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, go forth and implement. All right, so I think next up we have Steve and the construction report. We have no resolutions for Steve today, but it's always good to get an update from construction.
Thank you. Good morning. And just a quick comment on Jerry's question about that third bidder. At least in construction, typically the bids get wild when the provider is very, very busy and they don't need the work. So they throw a number out there that if they get it, great. They make a ton of money. If they don't, they really don't care. So I don't know if that was the case, but I'm just throwing that out there. On the construction side, we just added 13 new projects to our portfolio during the past month. There were 10 CUNY projects, 1 OMH and 2 SUNY projects. Their total value was $157.6 million. We completed 4 projects, 3 for CUNY and 1 for SUNY. Their value was approximately $30 million. From an expenditures standpoint, for the period ending July 2022, we expended $163 million. For the period ending July 2023, $247 million. So there was a bump of about $84 million year over year in construction expenditures. I won't go into the cover project at all. It is from OMH, and it is the Hutchings Psych Center Dental Clinic, which is located out in Syracuse, New York. About a $700,000 project. Pathfinder was the architect, and JDS Construction was the engineer. Just finished up in June of this year. As far as the programs go, start with SUNY very quickly. The FIT, $200 million new build down in Manhattan. We just received another schedule update. It hasn't changed from the prior month. Still set for February of 2024. Of course, this is well beyond the September 2023 completion date that we had planned on. We are working with the contractor surety, and trying to ensure that the project does land now in early 24. New Pulse, Sawasting Hall, $40 million upgrade. I was just there in the beginning of August. We are still set to complete in September of 2023, this month. Looking forward to spring 24 occupancy. UAlbany's $40 million Colonial Quad, on track for completion in August of 2024. Continuing to progress construction on both the low-rise dorms and the new fitness center spanning between the dorms. And lastly, Mackenzie Hall out in Alfred. We finished phase 3B, and the students occupied that this fall. Phase 3C, work continues on that. Anticipated completion in time for student occupancy for the spring 2024 semester. As Ruben alluded to earlier, the summer projects campaign is completed. All the summer projects that were planned to complete and occupy for this fall were done on time. Just quickly flipping over to CUNY, working to reschedule a meeting with CUNY's facility staff with regard to some suggestions DASNY made to improve process efficiencies, trying to get that on the calendar. In the meantime, the Lehman School of Nursing, the $100 million project, is completing this month. Spring of 2024 occupancy was planned, so we're in good shape there. There's very robust portfolios at Queens College, Hunter College, York, the College of Staten Island, New York City Tech, and City College, amongst others. As I mentioned, 10 new CUNY projects came into our portfolio this month. We continue to work with CUNY facility staff on the advancement of program and project efficiencies and work internally on some suggestions CUNY made to us for areas of improvement. OCM, 14 build-outs are underway. Several others are either in the design phase or waiting in the wings for either local municipality approval or fund approval to advance projects. The CD staff continues to support the program along with the DASNY term consultants. The DOH Life Sciences Lab, the $1.7 billion project is now in the final business terms negotiation phase with our design build team. We are pretty much wrapping up this week. We'll have something in front of OSC shortly for consideration and approval for the first piece of that contract, which will be for the design phase and any early LEP packages for the design build team. Just quickly on OMH and OPW, long backlogs of projects underway for OMH, Mid-Hudson, the Capital District, Rochester, Central New York, and Mohawk Valley site centers all continue with very heavy workload. Our parking garage up at Capital District Psych Center, 500 spaces, design build project has begun design. And on the OPW side, there's a heavy workload up at Sunmount and a few other DDSOs that we're working on. And just quickly on the administrative side of the equation here, we continue to recruit for over 40 openings in the construction division. We are working on a couple of PLAs. There's one for Rochester that's being finalized now that will come to the board either next month or the month after. And we have begun discussions with the New York City BCTC for our blanket PLA in New York City. That expires in December of 2023. I've been assured that we will have another PLA in place before that one expires. We've closed out 50 projects out of about 250 that are open, so we're making some progress there. Over 700 projects now in the new PM Web project management application. And we started a new initiative with regard to onboarding construction division staff that will enhance their experience with orientation, training, and mentoring. We hope to have something in place for that by the end of 23. That concludes my report.
Steve, how did the intern process work out for you this year?
It was very good. We get a lot out of them. We dropped most of them right on project sites. They did a fair amount of project work for us, both with our systems and learning a little bit about field inspections and just general project management. There's a couple of keepers. We're working on reeling them in.
Good luck with that, Steve.
So it's good to hear that you had a slow summer.
Yep.
It's very impressive work by the construction team, but.
Question, I see somewhere in the notes, the Housing Authority builds and projects. How big is that portfolio of projects that are pending with them?
The Housing Authority?
Mm-hmm. It says 32 million, at least to be determined. I'm not sure how much more is behind that, you know?
In my report. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I mean, we do some work for NYCHA, but that's really.
Yeah, the NYCHA.
That's just an approval of funds that are going out the door.
Okay.
So DASNY's not in contracts, but we are engaged with them very regularly. They're sending us invoices for work that was performed. We review those invoices and approve them for payment. So that's the program. That's what's going on.
How's the big job, Steve?
Which one?
The Albany job, the big
DOH lab? Yeah, so I just finished up my last, hopefully, negotiation session with Gilbane Turner HOK. Last Friday, we've got business terms pretty much in place. We're passing it over to Nadine to clean up those business terms and put them in contract language that we can all live with. So it's going pretty well. We'll end up sending that package up to OSC. Hopefully they'll approve it in short order, and we'll be off and running with this very large project.
Good luck.
Any other Steve questions, comments?
No, ma'am.
Last but certainly not least, we have Nadine and the general counsel report behind tab 9.
Madam Chair, behind tab 9 are materials pertaining to Project Sunlight, initiative created pursuant to the Public Integrity Reform Act of 2011. It's aimed to increase government transparency and accountability by providing the public with an opportunity to see who's interacting with government decision makers. So DASNY board members, as well as certain DASNY employees, are required to receive Project Sunlight training annually and are also required to report on certain specifically designated meetings. So those meetings are usually in-person meetings, video chats, conferences, or appearances. Telephone conversations or written communications such as letters, faxes, forms, or emails are not required to be reported. So this training, I provided the materials for the board members to review. We're not conducting the training at this point. I'd like everybody to review the materials that are attached behind my report. And upon completion of your review, notify Amanda that you've completed your review so that we can record an acknowledgement that you've conducted and completed your review for this year.
Thank you, Nadine. Amanda, it's Al Carney, and I have completed my review.
If you could just send that an email confirming that to Amanda, then we will be able to have that for our records.
Of course.
Is that fair?
Our current Project Sunlight officer was previously Matt Moore, but we've since Matt has changed his role, our new Project Sunlight officer is now Monica Norris. Everybody's familiar with her. The board members are familiar with her. She conducts the ethics training, so thought that would be a natural transition. And then Amanda will be recording and taking information regarding any meetings that you might have that you'd like to report for inclusion on our database and the state's public database that's maintained by the Office of General Services. There's a Project Sunlight database that records has a documentation of all meetings that have occurred so the public is aware of those meetings. Does anyone have any questions?
I'll try to do that by next meeting so we can make Amanda and Nadine's life easier.
It's Al again. It's interesting that emails and telephone conversations are excluded from review. Is it because there are so many of those? Is it about volume that makes them not relevant?
It's really about content. They're looking to see if there's a meeting for DASNY's purposes. There are 5 categories of meetings that they want to have additional detail on. There's procurements, regulatory matters, rulemaking. Yep. So those matters are of significant import, and the thought is that during meetings, visual meetings, that's when there's more dialogue that occurs, and they want to have a record of that. Emails can be obtained through other means, such as FOIL or other methods.
I see. Okay.
Having a visual, face-to-face video conference meeting with an individual that of a matter that carries the level of import that needs to be recorded, that's what they're targeting.
It's an interesting distinction. That Zoom has become more important than telephone conversation content. I read the material and I was just taken with that. No great shakes for me. It's fine. Whatever the state wants to do is fine with me.
Well, it's whatever the law requires. So the statute specifically specifies what types of meetings are required. So it has to be a video conference, an in-person visual face-to-face rather than a telephone call. So, which is interesting.
It is interesting. And thank you for the distinction, for making the distinction clear.
Okay. Anything
So
else?
if there are no further questions with respect to Project Sunlight, there's another matter that I wanted to speak about that calls us to move into executive session.
All right,
Okay,
we'll go into executive session. There being no further business after that. We will then come back from executive session and then adjourn.
And Madam Chair, if you wouldn't mind just asking for a motion for the reasons stated. We need to state for the record the reason why we are going into executive
Everybody
session.
was on board. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss the financial and credit history of a particular corporation, matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and proposed pending or current litigation. May I have a motion, please? Jerry and Wellington, thank you. So Sarah, will you,
Sarah, there you go.
all right, can you all hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we are back into a public session. While we were in executive session, no decisions were made other than to return to public session. I think that will conclude our business unless anybody has anything else. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So.
Second? Secretary in Albany? All right, we, again, please stay if you can, either in Albany or here to support the team. Engagement is really important, as we've heard, you know, it's tough to recruit and retain, so let's do that. Next regular meeting is October 11th. And we need a motion to, oh no, we took a motion to adjourn. That's it. Your wedding, okay, we will wish Jerry a happy wedding anniversary. Okay, thanks everybody.